Imagine the internet, where when you try to load a small-time web page, or maybe a person's blog, it takes minutes and minutes to load. And then when it finally does load, odds are it's been banned because of copyright infringement. Now this may sound like a dystopian future, where the government controls all internet information. However, there are laws trying to be passed right now, which are trying to make this a reality. In this speech, I'm going to talk about net neutrality and the attacks being perpetrated on it. In order to do this, I'm going to first discuss SOPA and what it was. Then I'll discuss the history behind SOPA, how it came about, and then finally I'll talk about the new threats on net neutrality, which are just coming up right now. So, for the first part, let's talk about SOPA. SOPA stands for the Stop Online Piracy Act. And this act is mainly being backed by the media industry, which is the movie studios and the record labels. On October 26, 2011, SOPA was introduced to the House. And at the first introduction, it showed a unanimous support. And because of that, it really scared a lot of people, including corporations like Google and Wikipedia. And because of that scare, on January 18, 2012, the largest online protest in history occurred. You may remember this because the Google website had a black censorship across their name, as well as the Wikipedia page shut down for a time. Now, the reason why there was such a big protest is because of what SOPA did. SOPA gave the media industries just a huge amount of power and allowed them to basically bypass the judicial system. What I mean is, if the media industries thought they didn't need to provide evidence, they just need to think that a website was infringing on their copyright, they would send a letter. All it take was one signature name, send it to Google and PayPal, for example, and they would have Google and PayPal would be forced to stop all business with that website, which obviously could be crippling for a website. The scare was that it was it was so vague as to what the true power of the media industry was. And the biggest scare was that the media industry would attack YouTube or attack Reddit or DeviantArt or places that were user-created and shared user content because they would infringe on some copyright laws. But thankfully, on January 20th, 2012, it was shot down, and so we averted that crisis. But let's talk about the history of SOPA and where it came from. So the origins of SOPA are basically because of video cassette recorders. Up until this point, people just absorbed media. They couldn't share it, record it, manipulate it. However, when the video cassette recorder came out, this new technology enabled people to start recording their media, remixing it, and then sharing it with their friends. And this scared the media industry because they were not making a profit on this creativity outlet. And so their very first stance was the Audio Recording Act of 1992. In this act, they appealed to Congress to make copying and distributing copyrighted material illegal. However, Congress stated that as long as you remix it and share it with your friends locally, that's perfectly okay. Now, the place where it gets illegal is when you share it with millions of people and you may charge a price for it. That's when it becomes illegal. The media industry didn't really like that, but that's because of the media industry the way it is. It wants to make money on stuff. But however, thanks to that and thanks to Congress, that has been the end of it. Up until SOPA. That was the newest rendition of the media's industry trying to infringe on our rights of net neutrality. But that is only one aspect of net neutrality. Now let's move on to this newest threat of net neutrality. So the newest threat of net neutrality is that on November 1st, 2014, a new proposal for net neutrality. It's from the FCC chairman, Tom Wheeler, and what he wants to do is divide the internet into two different jurisdictions. One is the internet service providers and one's with the consumers. The internet jurisdiction with the internet service provider allows them to charge premium rates for fast lanes. And obviously, bigger corporations are going to get faster lanes, and the small websites are going to get pushed under the table. A quote from Craig Aaron states that, no matter how you dress it up, any rule that doesn't restore the agency, which is the federal agency in this case, the agency's authority and prevent specialized fast lanes and paid prioritization is not net neutrality. And the biggest fear is that the corporations which pay more are obviously going to get the fast lanes, and it shall be corrupt, and it'll start getting corrupt, and therefore internet's going to be more spotty. So, what do we need to do? We need to stay vigilant. If you see a bill, which I encourage you to stay up on net neutrality, all you have to do is contact your local representative. So in conclusion, we looked at what net neutrality is, the different threats on it, and how we can act on it. And we did this by looking at SOPA, we looked at the history of SOPA, and then we looked at the newest threat on net neutrality. So if you like the internet the way it is now, and want to keep it that way, stay vigilant and stay active.